Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chat bots can then ask, questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show.
There we go. It recorded this time. Thanks, Zoom.
Right. Yay.
I know Zoom is probably having lots of things going on right now.
Oh, it's probably on overload.
It is. It is. But I'm excited to do this, and you know what? My guest today is fantastic. I can't wait to learn from her and share all this with everyone listening. And we're kind of matchy today. I just realized this.
Oh yeah, look,
Both
we're both
have the
sporting blue.
same headset. We both have this like light blue shirt on. Not the same shirt, mind you, but the same color.
Probably a good thing it's not the same shirt.
Yeah, right? Seriously. But yeah, this is going to be great. And I'm coming at everyone here live from Studio B in the coronavirus bunker here in my home office. And we are going to just have a great episode here today to give everyone something to learn and listen and enjoy and all that. So my guest today, like I was saying earlier, she's fantastic. Marketing strategist and architect, digital marketing expert, and a branding evangelist. She is also a gymnast in and out of the office, which we will talk about. The director of marketing at Millar, Michelle Sanders. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be great. It's a Friday. We have physical isolation, but not on a podcast. We've got the Zoom meeting happening. We got video for anyone listening. If you want to actually see things, because you haven't seen people in weeks, YouTube has the video, so go there and check it out. So, hey, thanks for coming. Welcome. This is our marketing leadership series, and we're looking to just pick your brain and learn some strategies from you. So I'm going to pass you this. This is an imaginary Thor's hammer. The real one is actually back in the office. So take that and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Just set the record straight once and for all.
Sure. Well, the first myth I'd like to smash is that marketing automation is only a marketing tool.
Whoa. But it's called marketing automation, and it's not just a marketing tool.
No, it's not
Yeah.
called sales and marketing automation, but
Maybe it should
sales,
be.
yes, sales can really take a lot of good data from the tool, and they really need to know how it works and understand the platform, not in as depth as a marketing person would, but
Right.
they need to understand what data it's putting out and why, and how that data is being accounted for. I mean, we had a great sales team here. That marketing and sales alignment were really important for us. So we
Yeah.
worked hand in hand to make sure the tool worked for us both seamlessly. But it wasn't always that way, for
Yeah,
sure.
no doubt. So this is cool. I like this topic. You are smashing something important. It's called marketing automation, but sales needs to be trained on it too. It's so
Yeah.
huge. You know, did you learn that the hard way, or did you just have training built in? And then how did you do it? So what's your take on it? What does sales need to know about marketing automation?
So definitely just getting started with marketing automation back, I think in 2015, I definitely thought the same thing. I was like, this is a marketing tool. I
Yeah,
didn't really think, sales needed to know the inner workings of it. But then, the more you start putting data in front of them, adding templates to Salesforce to show Pardot marketing details, it's like, okay, well, what's their score? What's their grade? What was their last
right.
activity? That if you're not careful, that stuff can just get buried at the bottom. The salespeople can hide it, and they're not even paying attention to it. So they're calling on a customer and having a conversation when they could have seen, oh yeah, they were active, X number of days ago by clicking on this email link or downloading this white paper. And
Yeah.
if they're just oblivious to that, you're not going to have a nearly as valuable of a conversation.
It's so true. There's so much context that they can use, right? There's
Right.
so many generic, I think about the LinkedIn spammers, right? All those email messages we get. We're in the same industry. Would you like to connect? And it's like, dude,
Mhm.
like, come on. It's so generic. I'm not going to
Exactly.
connect with you. And so sales could really use some context to say, hey, I saw you checked out our white paper. What'd you think?
Hmm.
I saw you registered for a webinar. Were you able to attend, or would you like the recording? Can I send it to you? Like, there's so many nice things sales could do if they had that information.
Right. And if you're really playing on the same team, you really have to leverage. It's like, well, what campaigns are working for you? Like, where are you
Yeah,
spending your marketing dollars? Because, marketing can't just guess. They have to have the proof of, get your ROI. And if they're not attributing these campaigns to their opportunities, then all that is lost. Some of it can be
right.
automated, but it does take an extra look at it too to make sure it's being counted towards the right campaign. So that's a big thing that we trained our sales staff on is, hey, just take an extra second to look at their last activity. Can we attribute this to a trade show, or really was it just a website, organic search, help us out here. And we got to the point where our sales team was actually, sometimes they'd have questions. They'd call me up and say, hey, I'm not sure which one this should be attributed to. Can you let me know? And we got to have a really good, relationship
Wow.
back and forth.
That kind of blows my mind because sales doesn't normally act like that. That's
No, they
awesome.
don't. But
That's
we,
great. Did you bribe them with pizza, or did you threaten them with no leads? Like, how did you get this kind of cooperation with sales?
Well, when it comes to the trade shows, that is a little bit of, hey, I won't sign up for the show again if you can't show me that it's getting some type of return. So that one's
Oh,
a little bit more black and white for sure.
yeah. Like, let's make sure we do this attribution correctly.
Right.
We may not be
Yeah.
going to, none of us may be going to the next show. So it's a
No, it's
network
like, yeah, if you like this face-to-face time with doctors, you got to show me that it's worthwhile. So,
show me. Yeah,
that,
I
yeah.
like that. That's a good. I mean, we can learn like a lot of things from you. The practical, tactical things that you're sharing, as
Mhm.
well as just some of the ways you're approaching sales in a way that they get. They're like, oh,
Right.
got it. Me being here next year and getting all those sales that I made money off of. It means me playing ball with marketing and making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, a big thing that helped too is just kicking off the beginning of the year. Let's have sales marketing kick off together
Oh,
align our
cool.
goals. Let's have sales walk through their goals, where they're trying to achieve, what's marketing trying to achieve. And then you get some extra time just to be like, well, let's just do a marketing automation, quick training update. Like, let's not forget about all these, amazing tools that we have that, we need to utilize and
Right.
understand the data, especially if you get new sales onboarding and they don't really have the same in-depth love for marketing automation as the other people did. So
So true. Take me back to when you first trained them. What kind of things did you make sure you were telling them in the training?
the key things from the get-go, because we didn't have the grading in place, immediately. That took some
Right, of
time
course.
to develop, but it was really just, what were their last interactions? So, what campaigns were they interacting with? Were they, and I, made sure it showed them, okay, here's where you check, like, they're in 3 campaigns. Did they respond to only 1 out of 3? Done. You're good. Easy, easy
Right.
peasy for so that was the first thing. And then, slowly we added on more and showed them how, they interact with content and downloads and things like that. So
That's cool. Did you have everyone all in the same room, or did you do like different small groups? Like, what was the size of the training when you're kind of sharing all this with them?
well, lucky for us, we have a small team, so it makes it a little bit easier. We were able to all be in the same room. But again,
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
there was a couple times where we had remote salespeople video call in and share the same presentations, and it works just as effectively.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's cool because I think, you get too many, then it's like a show. It's like, no, we're
Hmm.
not here to watch WWE wrestling. This is like
Yeah,
a quick training, pay attention. But then um, you got a nice small intimate group. Everyone feels like they can ask questions,
yeah.
and and and
Well, and the cool thing about Pardot Marketing Automation is they do have a few, sales tools
mm,
to get, with engage. And so that was one thing I thought might be interesting to try, but you're not going to do it unless people are actually using it. So
yeah, right.
I
It costs
actually, I
money.
did
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I was like, hey, here's a tool. It took a few tries, but I was like, let's watch some demos and then asking questions. Well, how do you think you would use this? Like, do you see use for it? And they started thinking about it and coming up with their
Right.
own, strategies for it. And by the end of the meeting, they're like, yeah, we want this. So
Wow. I like that you get them wanting something
mhm.
before, probably even before you got it. And you're like, hey, what do you think?
Right.
You use that? Yeah, I could use that. And then the proof's in them putting it, they actually use it. But then, yeah, continuing that enable, you mentioned all these different meetings, you're like, hey, reminder, here's something about that tool that we talked about,
Mhm.
last month.
Right. Yeah. At least you get over that initial hurdle of saying, hey, we have this tool, now you have to use it. It's like we want to get them
Hmm.
on, get everyone on the same page and excited from the get go.
Yeah, and ideally, it's beyond just even using the tool, right? It's like if this thing helps them sell more things and close more deals, they're going to use anything. They're going
Exactly.
to they'll do smoke signals if that was guaranteed to get them some more close one deals. That's cool.
Right.
I remember I did a training. I was mentioning this to you earlier. I did a training on the sales team. Like I trained a sales team of one of our clients,
Mhm.
and they were down in New Orleans, and so I got to fly down there, train a bunch of rowdy salespeople who are on their sales kickoff, which is a lot of fun. Like they have just such a fun time,
Oh, yeah.
cool culture. They're certainly the party animals. I mean, marketing, we can go a little crazy, but sales, I mean, they're out and about. So
Yeah.
it was great to just fly down there, do the training. They're all like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like this. And you're right. The questions are kind of a good signal that people are processing. They're like, huh, could I do this? Could I do that? Hey, what
Hmm.
happens with this? Like when you get those questions, it means it actually went in and it
Right.
bounced
They're
around a
thinking
little
about
bit.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how could this help me? Like,
Right. Right. Do you remember any questions that they asked you or any kind of common questions that sales has around this kind of thing?
so, oh, one thing we ran into, and this was more of the whole alignment part, is, we had those automated emails go out. We had, they're like, when are they going out? Or, who is it from?
Right.
And, at the get go, we're like, hey, well, we can have these emails come from you, so you're just constantly following up these people. And, you learn a little bit along the way of, that works if you have all your, I guess, automations and timings and things set up appropriately. It can work fantastic. But if not, you're going to get in trouble, because we ran into an issue where it's like sales was like, yeah, I just sent a person, he sent an email from his account, and then it's like an hour later, here comes an automated email. It's like, oh, well, who looks,
No.
like an idiot? Or, I think that maybe happened once. And then we're like, all right, turn it off. You're not going to have any more emails come from you
Interesting.
automatically.
Because that guy was doing a lot of emails himself.
He was, yeah, he was
Yeah.
just on it. Rather than saving in time. So it was so it got into, once that happened, it got into more questions. Well, how do I know which leads you're emailing and which ones I'm emailing? And how do we separate, ones from being nurtured versus the ones that I have full control over? So that even opened a whole other, can of worms. And
Sure.
even after we get back from trade shows, it's like, let's separate out these leads. How do we rank them to make sure sales is the only one following up with certain ones and marketing can do the other ones that are sort of like, colder leads that aren't going to buy right away,
Right.
and setting up those processes to make sure we're following up with everyone in some capacity.
Yeah. You know what? Can of worms, but glad they got opened up. I mean, that's a good conversation to have is, okay, when do I own the lead? When do you own the lead? Because, I mean, how many times have we seen situations where you have leads that are supposed to be owned by sales, don't nurture. They're in the no nurture, and they've been there for like 7 months. And
Right.
it's like, this person obviously hasn't bought yet and could benefit from some kind of nurturing. But it's owned by sales, don't nurture. So what's this all about? So really having that conversation.
Yeah, and it's like the data doesn't lie. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's run a report. How many people have you followed up with recently, and what touch points did they get? So at least you can know, like, I know you can't follow up with all these people.
Right. Right. You're not staying until like 9 p.m. just sending the same email out to 1,000 people. In fact, don't do that. Like,
no, it's like, let me help you.
yeah. Let me help you prioritize your time. Like,
Mhm.
I will send this amazing email out from you, and then you can just call all the people that are going to be buying this week.
Right.
Like teamwork is how it's supposed to work.
Mhm.
That's cool. Sweet. So we've smashed this myth. I feel like, I don't know if there's anything else we haven't smashed about it, but the whole idea of just making sure sales is trained. And I guess this extends to any kind of technology, right? It's not just
It
marketing.
does. I
The
think
whole
it's
tech
important
stack.
for sales just to understand what's being tracked, why it's important, and that way, I'm always leveraging sales to just better understand the customer and how they're
Yeah.
interacting with things and content, and as far as like user experience on the website. So it's all important, and to know it's like, all right, hey, maybe there's only X number of people visiting this page for X amount of time. Like, what do you think's wrong with this page? Like, how can I improve it? So.
Yeah, for sure. If we don't talk, if we don't share, there's all sorts of weird, wacky stuff that can happen. One time I had a lead gen page that was like really awesome. It was nice and small and optimized. It was for pay-per-click campaigns coming in. Super, super short. And then there's this organic one that was the pre-existing one, sort of like contact us page kind of thing. Sign up now on the homepage. And some report came out that said that, yeah, sure, we'd gotten a bunch of leads from the short form, but the long form actually led to more buying customers.
Yeah.
And some people were jumping to the conclusion of like, well, we should make all of our forms long. I was like, no, don't stop. And so I like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? And the long and the short is I went down and I sat with sales and was just chit chatting with them and talking to them about the different leads. Come to find out, no one had told them, probably me, but I hadn't even thought of it. No one had told them that we were doing a different kind of form or a different kind of, a test. And so all they knew is some leads came in with like 5 fields, some came in with like 12 fields.
Okay.
And so they assumed everyone had the opportunity to fill out 12. And these people that did 5 just were like losers and didn't care.
They're like, oh, we're lazy.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, they're probably not that interested because these other people, they filled out 12, not realizing that people who filled out 12 had no option not to. And people with 5 had no option to do more. And so once we kind of cleared that up, they're like, oh, okay. But they had been cherry picking all the 12s and they had actually been leaving the 5s for dead. Like they weren't even worth following up on. And we were spending the money on getting those ones in. So it was so crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that comes back to, it's like that communication between sales and marketing. It's like, all right, you have a new campaign. What are you trying to achieve? We're downloading, say we got a new LinkedIn campaign going on. It's like we have new content they're downloading. It's like this is running from X time to X time, so they can pay attention to it too and figure out, help support if it's actually converting or not.
Right. Know when the webinars are, know when new case studies come out, so that they can be the ones actually using it, using that as like a weapon in their
right.
sale.
And they can be promoting it themselves through their own
Yeah.
channels.
Yeah, they could be promoting it, getting a bunch of people in seats.
They're more connected to networks than, sometimes your own followers to your company. So, they're connected to the right people.
Yeah, they're in the network, especially if they've been around for a while. They're probably super connected. Yeah, fantastic. So tell me, because I think we're talking a little bit about tech, and I want to get into marketing automation. What's your take on marketing automation, post implementation? Is it one of those things, do you, like how much care and feeding do you need to give it?
Yeah. So when I first got marketing automation and the way I sold it, this was a big myth to me, as I was like, you know what? It's like having a second person on the team. And I was like, they're going to do all this work for me. And I'm just going to set it up and let it run, and it's going to be magical. And
go on vacation, check in by phone. How the leads doing? Yeah, they're coming in droves. They're great. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe that works for the short term, but not for the long term. I mean, it's a beast in itself that has to be managed, nurtured, audited, make sure, you can just accumulate so much content and images and files. And, of course, your or your email programs are going to get stale quickly. So that always requires updating and maintenance. And, maybe your automations work for a year, and then, things change with your site. And if you're not updating those, it's like you could have, 5 automations working for like a couple simple things, and not understanding that and relooking at what's all connected and how it's playing together can be really dangerous. Actually, you could be paying a lot of money for a system that's failing you if you're not careful.
Right. Like it could, I think the whole myth around that too is that it doesn't fix everything for you. It just does more of what you tell it to do. So if you tell it to do bad marketing, it's going to do way more bad marketing.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to get your terrible marketing. Yeah, faster and more efficient. They were going to get the worst marketing you've ever created faster. So yeah, it's a good point that you can't set it, forget it, and you got to give it consideration. How do you how do you plan your months or quarters? How do you remind yourself to care and feed for marketing automation? Like what are your tips around that?
Yeah, it's really just looking at the year as a whole. It's like, okay, let's break this up into quarters. It's like, what is our goal for the quarter content wise? And, if you don't have someone dedicated to just maintaining the system 24/7, that they're in there day in, day out, you do have to set reminders. It's like, all right, once a month, let's check in on all these email campaigns, what's still running, what needs to be turned off, what needs to be refreshed for the next month. And, same thing I found with just as you're doing emails and you're uploading all these new image files for these emails, it just can get overloaded with, it's like, okay, well, we didn't use this image. It's been 5 years, like it's sitting in the system. Like, let's help clean this up, or, organize the content into folders rather than just letting it all sort of mash together, and understanding the purpose of it all. Like,
yeah, totally. I was joking the other day about like Marie Kondo plus Pardot. You got to clean up your system, and make sure it's don't just hoard stuff. Don't hoard contacts, don't hoard leads, don't hoard assets. They're not doing you any good there.
Yeah, well, especially since, once you get to a certain threshold, you have to pay for a larger database. So it's like, if you're not actually emailing all those people, then why are you paying for it?
That's a really good point. Do you have any tips around that? I mean, what do you do to keep track of folks that are in your database? They're never going to buy from you. They're not even probably alive anymore.
Yeah, and that's a hard one, because it's like, oh, it's a contact name. It's hard to delete on that. And, especially if you have it syncing to, a system like Salesforce, it's, you're bogging down that system too. But really, I think, for us, we knew it's like, okay, we got rid of a couple product lines. So anyone associated with that product line, that's a clean, you don't need to be in our system anymore. But again, if it's been, how it depends on your business, right? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Our buying cycle is pretty long. So if it's been 2 years and they haven't really interacted, that doesn't necessarily mean throw them in the trash. But
Yeah. I
it's
mean, that's,
really about the role and really the buyer
yeah.
persona. You got to start looking at that. It's like all these junk people that, maybe registered and now are sitting in your database. It's like you don't want them clogging up your system. So you have to be a little proactive, when they come in, make sure and clean it up immediately.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I love that you tied into the buying cycle, like how long your sales cycle is, because
Mm-hmm.
that should help inform how long you keep people around. If you've got like a year-long sales process and you've got someone that's been around for a week, it's probably not enough time
All
to
right.
evaluate them. But if they've been around for 10 years, probably should get rid of them.
All right. Yeah, they may not be at that company anymore. So,
Right? They're not even there anymore. I used to hoard contacts. It used to be, in marketing, I think we kind of look at the number of mailable contacts, our lead number or whatnot, our database as like treasure under the dragon kind of thing.
it
We're
does,
like,
yeah, it feels that way.
yeah, like, oh, we got 30,000 or 300,000 or 3 million. Oh, now we have 3.5 million or whatever number you have. You always want more, but then you realize, I think one company I was at where they the database was like from the 70s, you
Oh,
know?
wow.
And you're right, like those people are like not even there anymore.
Yeah.
And God forbid you try to mail those people and the
Oh,
damage it'll do to
exactly.
your IP
Yeah.
address.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the middle of a, website relaunch, and so we're looking at, okay, well, how many people are in our website database and how many people are going to be
Oh, wow.
transferred to the new database? And
Yeah.
granted, the numbers aren't huge, but I'm looking at their last, access, and I'm like, well, this person didn't access the website for 8 years, so there's no reason. It's like, let's keep it
Eight
small and
years.
simple and get our top people, in there that need to be in there. And if they're really interested, they will re-register. We'll let them know. There's lots of great info. We want their latest data anyways. We don't want to be
Right.
clogging the system with old emails or contact info. So
That is crazy thinking about that. Yeah, like 8 years ago and like, oh yeah, we got 3,000 people from 8 years ago. Nah, you don't really do. And it's a good reminder that your data is constantly eroding and
it
degrading,
is. Yeah, it
you
is.
know?
It's a constant battle. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is. So no one likes cleaning up data. Let's face
Yeah, no one
it.
does. Like, it's almost like you need a company full of nerds that are like, we'll clean your data.
Right.
Um, You'd be like, yeah, here. It's like a house cleaning service. You're like, oh, just come in, just come in.
Yeah.
Or you're too embarrassed. You're like, I don't want you to look at my data. It's so bad.
Right. Yeah.
Either way, you got to do it. You know.
Yeah. We did do a big initiative though, another for the data quality cleanup, where we set gauges and things for different
Oh wow.
salespeople and scores. So, it was front and center. All right, all your leads or contacts, you're at like a 50%. So I was like, I mean, you're missing like a lot of data, or you're at a 90%. And so, salespeople are competitive, and if
Oh yeah.
they're like, hey, I can't have my data being worse than yours. So
Right.
that helped a little bit get ours up and going. At least for our top customers.
Right. I imagine that would be the case. And then you just gotta get rid of some of these people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, with CRM it's one thing, but at least in Pardot, there's a recycle bin. God bless
Yeah,
recycling.
that's true. Yes, they're
And
never gone forever, really.
right, which is really kind of cool. And until you try to factor in GDPR. But other than that,
Yeah.
it's really kind of cool that they exist in the recycling bin. People didn't know if you have Pardot, if you delete someone, they go in the recycle bin. If they ever come back and fill out a form again, lo and behold, they're back, and it restores all their previous information. So you don't have to feel so hesitant to get rid of, old contacts in Pardot that haven't been doing anything. So I like to do. Have you ever done this where you do like a wake up campaign? You're like, I'm about to delete you. This is like your last
Oh,
meal,
yeah.
and you send them a crazy
Done a couple of
email,
those, yeah.
some kind of offer, some kind of wacky thing. Maybe the subject line talks about aliens, and then you're offering them like a trip to Vegas just to see if they're breathing,
You're like, are you alive over there?
And
I've
if you
definitely
get,
gotten some of those.
yeah, and if you get crickets, it's like, okay, you're really not alive, so we
Yeah,
can delete you. Um,
exactly.
yeah. Now, were you talking about that? Have you gotten those ones that are like, should we still talk? The salesperson who's like going for the no right away is like, I sent you an email. I'm following up. Do you want me to, 1, keep going, 2, wait, or 3, leave you alone forever?
Yes, I've definitely gotten one of those. And speaking of
Yeah.
aliens, I think I've gotten some that it's like, you've been abducted by aliens.
Has it really said that?
Yeah, I have definitely gotten one like that.
Wow. I was just like mentally making that up, but
No, it's
brilliant.
someone has actually used that before.
Wow. I like that.
And I
And
do
did it work?
laugh.
Did
I
you
laughed
laughed?
and
And then you deleted.
I deleted.
And you didn't respond or click or anything. So they don't.
No, it was a completely cold outreach, someone I had never
Okay.
actually even had any contact with or was interested in whatever they were selling. So
Got it. Got it. You know what I've started doing recently is when I get the spammers on LinkedIn who are like, "Hey, check out my thing, blah blah blah, my thing. Can you buy my thing? Can you do my service,
mhm.
whatever?" I write back and say, "Sounds interesting. Have you heard of my book on marketing automation?" And I link them to it.
Like, how about you buy my
Right, right.
book?
So anytime they're gonna spam me and promote something to me, I'm gonna write them back and be like, "Hey, have you bought my book?" And I think if somebody wants to like do a meeting with me, I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll meet with you. Buy my book, and then I'll meet with you." Um, so yeah, getting revenge. I don't know if anyone's done that yet, but I'll
Yeah,
just keep marketing to them. They're like my
there you go. Yeah,
hey, and
you're
they can't report me for spam because they spam me
they reached out
first.
first, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Mhm. So
Crazy.
true.
So this is good. This is good. Question for you. Let's see here. You know what? This ties into that last thing we were talking about earlier around people understanding what marketing's doing. Like, I
Hmm.
think your training of the sales team is a, is a giant step there. But could you talk about the challenge of just having people understand what you do? And it's like, oh, we just do the pretty
Oh yeah.
pictures and all that.
It is definitely a challenge, and I think a huge myth for other people that are not our engineering department or whoever that are not involved in marketing. They're like, oh, and I've heard a direct quote: "Marketing's the one that does the pretty pictures and logos and plans fun events, and oh, they're in charge of happy hours or whatever." And I'm like,
Right.
okay. I was like, well. Yeah, that is maybe 1% of what marketing actually does. But, so when I came to Millar, it was definitely a immature marketing
Mm,
function. They didn't have really marketing in place before, and it literally was just that. It was plan some trade shows, update the brochures, and then you get to manage the website. And that was about it. They had a
huh.
couple emails, database. They mass email everyone. It wasn't segmented. It, you know,
Just blast them an email,
just
right?
blast
Just
them.
big
Yeah.
blast. Yeah. Customers, prospects, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone in the database.
So we didn't have a CRM at the time. And so there was a lot, of systems and processes. And I think people don't realize the strategy that's really involved to keep all these things working together, when it comes to your website and the lead tracking and then campaigns and the content management and even just the overarching like brand management. It's not about the logo, and it's like what is the brand experience through the entire journey? Like, how are people responding from when you get even when you're onboarding new employees, it's like, how are they experiencing the company? And for
Yeah.
attracting new employees as well, as the brand and how you're communicating it outward is a big part of that. So having consistent messaging, and it can be very powerful if it's done right, or it can basically you know be completely fragmented and not have any impact whatsoever. So and
Right.
it when there's so many puzzle pieces, and I love the little um, diagrams I've seen of people where it's like marketing wears many hats, and it's like all these things that play into the
Yeah.
overall like marketing strategy. And it's really you can get quickly down into like the tactical stuff very quickly, because that's what you have to do on a day-to-day to make things work. But then it's like the big picture of the customer journey. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean, and what projects are associated with that to make it smooth from like the beginning to the end. And I think it's interesting here at Millar's. We have a new segment that has gotten engineering more involved as like a service provider, and so they're really understanding more now what marketing does and how they help
Right.
attract the customers and the interactions between them along the way to get business up and going.
Yeah, like that whole print shop for sales,
Hmm.
like you're just a publisher or something.
Right. It's like, oh yeah, can you update this little brochure, here's replace this picture, or yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and
Yeah, I
that,
think
yeah,
kind of looking at people like graphic designers, you know?
right, yeah. And that is actually, I've definitely been and I guess met people from different companies where that literally is their marketing department, is a graphic designer. So
Yeah, just to make things pretty. There's so
yeah.
much more to it. To your point, the whole like entire experience.
Hmm.
No other group is focused on that overall experience. Sales, they're focused on that closing experience. I mean, they have to nurture people through if they don't have marketing. Everyone else, they're looking at, their particular area, and marketing kind of covers the whole gamut, and they're
It
trying to look
does,
at
yeah.
the experience. Yeah.
From beginning to end. Yeah, post sales, it's like, how are you going to maintain those customers? Check in on how they're doing with the company. It's like you can have customer service people, but they also have to tie into marketing, be connected as well to make sure it's all
Yeah.
cyclical.
Now where you're at, have you been able to, and what are the ways that have been effective to get from being like that print shop to being more of like, hey, we're an investment, we're a active part of the revenue process?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely always a challenge, and getting a seat at the table
Yeah,
is
right.
important, right?
Yep.
Because for a long time it was sales and marketing sort of merged under one,
Yeah.
leader. So it's like really the precedence took over sales. So I think, when you're having those leadership meetings, it was like most of the conversations were about sales, and marketing was, oh yeah, we went to this trade show and we got 100 leads. And that
Hmm.
was like the only thing that came up about marketing, in those meetings, where now it's like, okay, well, what are some bigger picture items that we need to focus on marketing? And then of course showing the data to say, okay, hey, we had
Right.
X number of leads and they turned into X, amount of business. And, we're reaching these customers at these companies, and that's who we want to do business with. And this is how they got there, was all these marketing activities that led the way to that.
I like that you're sharing more than just numbers. I think sometimes KPIs, if you don't exactly know the number, like who cares? But if you're like,
Hmm.
that big deal that we just closed came about because we met them at that conference and they
Right.
came to our VIP dinner, and then this is what happened. And sales was like, oh, I want more of that. Let's repeat more of that. Marketing, how
Yeah.
can I help you?
Well, so I recently put together, it was a little bit manual,
Mm,
um, but it was like our top customer. And I was like, hey, let's look at this, when their first interaction was with the company till today, and
hmm.
how much business it's, I mean, the customer life cycle, right?
Right.
And so it's like, okay, they came to us back in 2013 and they bought a few products here. And then, they went away for a while, and then they came back, and I think it was like 2016.
Yeah.
And here's where you can see a spike in activity on the website from various people at the company checking things out. And then you can see, okay, they bought. And I just laid it all out like as a map.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, this is their story. And I was like, this story spanned over 7 years. And you can see, like, you're always nurturing these people. They come and go, especially in our line of business, because it's just, we do have these long lead cycles. We're in medical device development. It can take 5 years to get a product to market. And so they're working on
Right.
it in the background, but you still got to be there and remind them, yeah, we're here, and they'll come back when they're ready. But so it was a really cool way to paint the picture of like, this is how we're impacting them along the way. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is cool. Those things are really small and subtle, but so important, right? Because it's
mhm,
just a little tiny thing that you did. Actually, that whole mapping it out, that's not so small, but just the little nuggets you're dropping on sales every time you get a chance, or any other department. I think
mhm,
it adds up to where it clicks. It's not like a big aha moment, like you can get 8 hours of their
right,
time and tell them everything. But I think every little chance you get to drop a little nugget gives them that bigger picture view that they
right,
don't have.
yeah, yeah. You got to understand, and yeah, it's all about communication. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, what
for
happened
sure.
this week? Maybe the top highlights, or you know, we have a smaller team now, so it's easier back and forth. But you got to have either other channels to communicate what you're doing if you don't
Right.
see everyone face to face every day, because people are spread out. So,
That's
they may
true.
be all over the US or the world, or so it's harder once you get into more global corporation to really have that same impact. So you got to have the right technology in place to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. The bigger you get, the more disconnected things can get if
Hmm.
you let it. Um, Crazy. Well, here's my next question. Who are you? How did you
Mhm.
become this like marketing wizard? And
Yeah,
like, take us back. Take us like little Michelle days. Did you always know you're going to be in marketing? Were you always?
I definitely did not. So I probably didn't fit. Well, I think I figured that one out come freshman year of college. But when I was a kid, you have dreams of being all sorts of different things. One
Like
thing,
what?
I mean, yeah, a teacher, a doctor, those standard, I think as a kid, you don't really understand the full scope of like what's out there in the world besides what you see in front of you.
Right.
And so, but I did know that I was always interested in being very creative and sort of, art and, design thing. I also fell in love with math as well. So it's like, oh, math, art,
How do you?
how do
Yeah.
you work with those together? And at one point I was like, hey, I'll be an interior designer, and nothing just felt quite right. Like I felt like there was a missing component to just being the creative person. Like I
Yeah. Like,
wanted
where's the
more than
math?
that.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted more like problem solving, like analytical, like bigger problems to solve.
Right.
And so once I finally, took the intro to business class in college, and I was like, hey, this could work. I was like, I do, I liked psychology, I like sociology, I liked a lot of the components that,
Right.
you have to be aware of and think about when it comes to marketing. And then, of course, the idea of like advertising was attractive to me. Watch these movies of like big advertising firms, or like, that looks fun. But,
Right.
and so I did, after I went through all my marketing courses,
So
I wanted to,
what made you try that though? Like you said, it was sophomore year in college.
it
So
was
you just
freshman year. It was just
freshman
a
year.
sort of intro to business. I was just like,
Yeah,
you know
okay.
what? I'll just pick this as an elective class. So I was like, I'll just add this to my schedule. This, could be a way to go. Not really knowing like what I'd want to do in business or anything like
Right.
that. But I was like, yeah, it seems like an easy way to get a job, right? Have a
Right.
business degree. Sure.
Sure.
Try it out. So yeah, it was that first class, and I pretty much latched on to marketing right away. All the other topics, I was like, yeah, I don't see myself really doing this, but I was like, I can really see myself getting on board with marketing and learning more about it and ins and outs of it.
Yeah. There's so many different parts to it too,
Yeah,
which
and
makes it really interesting.
even when I was in school, I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, it's marketing is completely different than it was. You learn the basic stuff. It's like, all right, marketing strategy, planning. Let's do SWOT analysis. Let's,
Sure. Right. Yeah.
but there's so much more to it now with just the technology that's in place, and you know even mapping out with the buyer personas and the customer journey. We talked about being how do you differentiate your brand, and
Yeah.
who are your target customers, and you go over the basics like that. But so yeah, I got out of school,
Well, one
and
quick question for
oh
you,
yeah.
because a lot of people get into marketing and they didn't have marketing in school.
Hmm.
And then I'm always, and I didn't. I was like computer science, and communications too, though. So it's kind of a little bit of both,
Hmm.
like you, where it's like math and creative.
Yeah.
What kind of, is there anything that you gained that you can remember? And maybe that's a harder question, but like
Hmm.
from school in marketing classes that you think you still kind of leverage? Anything stand
Hmm.
out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I remember some of my professors and the projects that I did. I took a lot
Yeah.
of international marketing
Hmm.
classes. I was very attracted to the whole sort of global business idea, and maybe working abroad one day sounded
Right.
enticing. And so I think it was, remember, doing like a, marketing plan for releasing a product in China, like
Oh, cool.
so going through all the steps. And it's interesting because in school you spend like hours upon hours developing these marketing plans for either customers, like local people,
Yeah.
like customers, or companies in the area, or you sort of make up something, like we did. We're like, oh, we were going to do a vitamin D for China, and I don't remember why we picked that necessarily. And so you're researching their markets, and how do they communicate with everyone. And
Right.
um, but yeah, it was just, it's so different now than it was then. You don't really get a full scope. Like, you got to do things faster and quicker a lot of
Yeah.
times than you have to like really think about it when you're in school. But
Yeah. I think sometimes even those projects, doing that kind of stuff is really the value. It's
hmm.
like trying stuff and learning and the practical application some of those theories.
Yeah, the process of going through it, really,
Yeah.
thinking through it.
Did you also do Spanish while you were in school?
I did, yeah. I don't always claim that one as much anymore because my Spanish skills are not quite where they used to be. But yeah, it was that was kind of I went into school and I was like, oh, I'm not going to take Spanish again,
Right.
and I was required as a foreign language. So I was like, okay, I'll just take my credits. And once I got into the university level, I was like, oh, I kind of like this again. This is fun. So I was like,
Interesting.
and then I
Because it
decided.
starts over too, though, right? Because like Spanish 1 in school is just like all
Yeah,
the
I
vocab you already.
tested into a little bit,
Oh, did you? You
like
tested it up
to
to?
like the third level or whatever
Oh,
it
wow.
was.
Right
So
on.
Spanish 3, and then a friend and I were like, "Hey, we want to travel abroad while we're in school," and so that was bigger motivation to keep learning Spanish because we
Sweet.
decided, let's go to Spain for a semester. I was like, well, if we're going to survive in Spain, let's learn the language. So then that kept me interested in it, and then since I was in Spain, all those classes I took, which was like, I think 12 hours or 16 hours worth of classes, they all transferred over as like credit. And I was like, well, I can get 16 hours of Spanish credit. I only need to take a couple more classes to actually get a major in it. And it was like, sort of just like, well, I'll just do it just because.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that is cool. That is really cool. So you did a semester abroad in Spain.
I did. Yeah.
What was that like?
So it was awesome. I mean, it was like the biggest, learning experience I think that I could had at my time in my
Yeah.
life, because it puts you in such an uncomfortable situation of living with a stranger that you'd never met before, not really speaking their language, and trying to like just everything that you did, like from, okay, well, I need a phone and I need to put the time you had to like buy minutes for your phone still over there, and it's
Right.
like going to the store and just putting minutes on my phone was like a challenge. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, I got back to the US and I was like, everything is so easy.
I know.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Every sort of communication. And I mean, how was it? You had studied it for a while, but it wasn't like necessarily fluent, or it was
No,
still.
yeah, I could communicate, but still
Yeah.
it's like you had to think about, you couldn't say things the way you wanted to say them. So you'd have to find another way to communicate,
Mm.
like, the basic stuff, going to a store, buying your groceries, that's one thing. But, I was taking, all my classes were in Spanish. So there, I took, an art
Wow.
class in the Pardot. And so they're explaining the history of these artists like El Greco in Spanish. And I'm trying to
Oh
follow
God.
along and like understand art history, like, from the Spanish professor. So it was, just constantly your brain was just being expanded like at every moment, trying to figure out like what was
I
going
mean,
on.
you're right. Like 16 credits of, geez, all in Spanish.
Yeah. So I did take a few, fun classes like ceramics and things that like,
Oh, good.
give my mind a break.
Yeah. Yeah. You only have a few words like, yeah, oh, more water, add more water. Okay, I got
Right.
that.
I got that.
That's good. I can do that. I'll add more water to that.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy cool. Did you have any, like, when you learned Spanish before you went over there, was it more of that like Mexican Spanish, or were your teachers
No,
Spanish?
it
Did you
was,
have any of that?
the Castilian, like
Yeah,
Spain Spanish that you were learning. So
right.
actually, to this day, when I'd randomly come across someone that had that accent, I could just pick it up that much
Really?
faster. It was just
Wow.
it was ingrained in my head that that's what I learned when I was over there, and so it was just easier for me to listen to and hear, because that's how I
You
practice.
just like, oh, okay, that person's been to Spain. I can tell.
Right? Yeah, it just
Yeah.
like triggers something on in your brain. You're like, okay, I got it.
Whereas if it's like Mexican or South American Spanish, you're like, whatever.
Right? Yeah,
You can still hear it. You can still pick up a lot of it. Probably.
I do. Yeah, and it's, I mean, great. But I'm, in Houston, so you hear Spanish
Sure.
every day. You drive, to and from work, and there's billboards on Spanish along the way. So
Have you ever used it at work? Like, have you ever used it for marketing?
I did early in my career. So when I first started out, I worked at an advertising and marketing agency, and we
Okay.
had one or two clients every now and then would come in, and they're actually, based in Mexico. Like we had a fencing company,
Hmm.
and I think there was a tequila company, and so they would write into the website in Spanish, and at the time I was the only one in the office that knew any Spanish, so I would write them back in Spanish, and a couple times I tried conversing with them on the phone, but being on the phone and speaking Spanish is a whole other animal. I was like, at least when you're face to face, you can, follow, like read their lips more. And,
Yeah.
but and I'd say there was a couple times the client came in from Mexico, and I tried to, speak Spanish here and there.
How'd that go?
I think it was more of like an appreciated effort of like,
yeah.
but the meeting was in English. It wasn't, no one else at the company spoke Spanish, but it was fun because I did maintain it a little bit more than I have lately, where it hasn't necessarily, it's more of like, if I want to speak Spanish to someone, it's more conversational than actually the business Spanish that I learned. And I was reading novels in Spanish and like writing papers on them. So it's almost like a whole different type of interaction of Spanish than like your normal.
Could you teach someone Pardot in Spanish?
No, I don't think I could.
There'd be so many words.
It would be. I think it'd be a lot of Spanglish.
It would be. Would you call it nurture, or you translate that? And it's like Pardot, engagement studio.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you do your steps. It'd be like primero.
Right.
Like click here. I don't know. It would be challenging.
What is click? Is there a verb for clicking?
I don't know if there's like a
click here.
Click. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There'd be so much Spanglish going on there just to try to share all that. I remember when I was on a trip and I was in Germany and I didn't know any of that language, so it wasn't like I could even pretend. I tried. That was actually the one, every time I'd visit a country, I would get like the Pimsleur, like language learning for that country, and just like on the flight over.
Try to learn what you could.
And I'd listen to it on the plane, and it worked out really well in Japanese. German, though, the words are just so long. It actually put me to sleep when I listened to it. So it's the
very difficult one.
Yeah. So I just remember getting back to London when I was connecting through, being like, oh, I can hear English. And it just felt so nice to hear English, because even like if someone was gossiping or if someone was in a bar, you're like, I don't understand anything. Cool.
Right.
I'm here by myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. The advertisements too. Like, okay, doesn't really affect me. It's not getting into my brain because I don't know what it says.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
Crazy. Would you go back to Spain?
I would. I have been back. I think a couple times since I went.
Nice.
Once to Barcelona, and I spent a New Year's Eve in Madrid many years ago, which was a very cool experience.
And it was probably easier the second, third, and fourth time, and especially not having a class to attend. You're just like,
hey. You're just there traveling. You already know how to get around, and so it was
crazy. So I have a question for you. If you could go back in time, and I may have a time machine here in Nashville, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And assuming I do, if you could go back in time to the beginning of your career, it could be when you graduated college, it could be even before then, what would you tell yourself? Like, having experienced all the things you've done and been to Spain and all these different things, would you give yourself any advice? What would you say?
So one thing, when I always look back at the start before my career even started, that I probably would try to change, just because I think it could be more advantageous, is when I was in school, there was a program, it was like the 3-2 program. So you could get your MBA in 5 years with an undergrad degree. And I looked at it, but I was like, oh, I don't know. And if I could go back, I would tell myself, just be like, you know what, go ahead and do that. Now, and I look back at it, I don't know how much more knowledge I would have had coming out of school than I did with graduating with a 4-year business degree, but it's, sort of one of the things that checks that box, where a lot of, times when you're looking to like advance your marketing career in a lot of companies, it's like MBA required. And it's like, I think my skill set is way, learned a lot over the years, but it would be nice. That would have just been such an easy way to tick that box off, rather than going back now where you're spending, it's a huge investment and time and money.
Yeah.
And when you have a family, that's can be a little bit more challenging. So I was like, man, if I would have done that, that would have just been awesome.
Right. So, you have checked the box. You would have had one,
And you can always go back, and do like those year-long programs, those specialty things that different universities offer to,
Right.
keep learning. But at least, you would have that MBA under wraps. Like that would have been cool. So
Right. Now, did you technically have like 2 degrees, one in Spanish and one was in?
I did, yeah. They were full
Yeah.
degrees, yeah.
Yeah, see, that
Double
happened to me
majors,
too.
yeah.
It was computer science and communications, and it was like a BA and a BS. So it was
Hmm.
like different schools.
Yeah,
Um, so you got that,
I
but
did.
you're
Yeah, I
right.
took that.
Like, you had the longer sleeves and you'd have
Hmm.
the,
Yeah, for one extra year.
yeah, I know, 1 extra year. Cause you did that in 4. You did the 2
Right.
and 4.
I did 2
Wow.
and 4, so it would have been totally possible. I could have my undergrad in Spanish and then have an MBA.
Right. Now, would you trade your experiences in Spain for an MBA?
No, I don't think I would.
Okay.
I would have found a way to do both.
You would have?
Yeah.
Hey, 3 degrees, 5 years,
Yeah.
rock on. Awesome. Okay, so you would tell yourself, take a look at that program. Anything else you'd say about your career or how to navigate or anything like that?
Yes, I mean, I think just getting to exposed to as much as you can as early as possible. So, I probably early on in my career, I wasn't as interested in learning things outside of work, and which it's like I had so much time on my hands. You'd come home from work and your weekends. It was just especially you don't have kids. It's like you have so
Hmm.
much free time, and you don't realize how much free time you have until you don't have it. And so now I'm like, think about all these things I could have been, really pushing ahead. And so I think I would have encouraged myself to try to learn a little bit more while I had more time.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. It's fun to learn new things when you find the right time and when that
Hmm.
spark goes off and you're like, I want to learn more about that.
Right. And now, yeah, now I'm on a learning kick, but still.
What are you learning these days?
So I mean, it's really just more of like marketing, learning,
Yeah.
and nutrition. Like I'm interested in nutrition,
Oh, sweet.
so jump on a nutrition podcast to learn, a little bit more about, the details and
What
the
aspects of
clinical.
nutrition?
So there's one podcast I listen to. They kind of get into like a pretty, honestly, a lot of the words they use I don't really follow completely because it's really on like the cellular and molecular level of like
Wow.
how nutrition is impacting your body and
So you're like a bio
gut
degree in your
health.
future as
Yeah.
well. You need to get an MBA and a
Yeah,
biology degree.
maybe. I did want to be a doctor early on, so
Right.
there is that, but more about just to learn things about how to, be healthier, like what
Yeah.
foods, you should be adding to your diet, how much, and everyone's different with their physiology, so what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for another person.
So maybe that kills my next question, but I was going to say from everything you've been learning so far, any recommendations for everyone listening around nutrition?
I mean, yeah, it's all about finding your balance and listening to your body. I think we kind of
Mm,
tune our body out a lot of times. And when you're actually like in tuned to your body, it's like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that. Like all of a sudden I
right.
have zero energy.
Right. I think we kind of take stuff for granted, right?
Hmm.
When you're going through Tums like crazy, maybe whatever you're eating should not be,
Right.
that's for me, it's pizza, right? I
Hmm.
can do 1 or 2, but if I'm being ridiculous in a couple week period and there's like too much pizza or even like back to back, right?
Right.
Eventually I'm like, wow, I need Tums now. Like I haven't been eating those things in a long time. And it's like, oh God, what am I doing? Oh, that's right. I'm eating something that, my
Yeah.
body's not happy with. So yeah,
And
yeah, I like that. Paying attention to the signals.
yeah, and I haven't gotten as I've seen things where you can do like micronutrient panels to actually see where your
Mm,
levels are of like vitamins deficiencies, because it's like, oh, you read about maybe I need to take more vitamin E because of
right?
this, but you don't really know if your body needs it. And
You
so,
don't.
like start popping like these vitamins that you're like could be throwing yourself out of whack. So,
Right. You don't want to take too much of one,
yeah,
right? And go crazy with it. So yeah, it's like, I guess the only one you can't OD on is like vitamin C, which is that's nice that you can't take too much of
yeah,
that. But the other ones, you're right. You could take too much of something and but what if you're deficient in it? You don't know.
right,
I would
yeah,
totally do like the vitamin panels or even just to figure out what kind of allergies you have for like,
right. And I guess that comes back to being like kind of a data junkie, right? Like
yeah. Oh
data
yeah,
and
totally. That's the
marketing,
data side,
data,
right?
like data, like for your body. Like, tell me like what I need to do. Like, I don't want to just guess.
Yeah.
So,
I had a friend that I was chatting with who did like the full food allergy workup
mhm.
because she was getting all sorts of like crazy like levels of pain and just swelling and discomfort. So she's like, there's like a bunch of things I'm eating that I shouldn't be eating,
Mhm.
and did the whole, like all the work, the bloods, all the samples to like figure out what it is. And she had this whole laundry list, unfortunately, but at least she
Mm,
knew. She's like,
right.
yep, not steak, not this, not chicken. Like there's like certain things, certain meats and vegetables, and like, oh, not raspberries, no
Right.
cucumbers, but at least you know. And if you can avoid the things, that are major, you start being like, wow, I'm really feeling good over here.
Yeah. Well, like my youngest daughter has some food allergies.
Mm.
And so we just recently learned that she has a sesame seed allergy. And so the
You said sesame
crackers,
seed?
sesame seed, yeah.
Ah, interesting.
And, it's not really in a lot of our food, but I
Right.
realized, I was like, oh, there's crackers that she gets when she leaves for school at the end of the day, and they have like microscopic amounts of sesame seeds, and she would eat them like every day, and it
Yeah,
wasn't enough to where it was causing like a severe reaction, but she has really bad eczema. And I've noticed now that we finally figured that one out, she doesn't get those crackers anymore. It has helped her skin like so much, and it's just like,
totally.
you know, it's just one of those random ones. I mean, it is a more common one that people can have, but it's I didn't expect it. So
Yeah, and you always wonder about milk too.
hmm
Like I think there's a certain gene where people have evolved to be able to be cool with milk later on versus being lactose intolerant. But apparently, like half of America, this is complete. This is a marketer saying nutrition science, but like it was like half of us are like lactose intolerant in some way, shape, or form.
yeah. Well, there's a
Um,
lot of components to milk. There's like
yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
different like proteins in there, like
Mm,
casein and whey that you could have an issue with. Maybe it's not, yeah,
might
the
not be the lactose,
lactose.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's so true. And just kind of honing and finding. It's like optimizing. It's like doing marketing on your
Right.
body kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Optimize your body.
That's it. Optimize your body. There's your next book right there.
Yeah. Just need to learn a little bit more of the, inner workings of
Just
nutrition
listen
in
to
your
a few
body. But
podcasts. You'll be
yeah.
good. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I just listen to marketers on marketing podcasts, and I know a few things after that. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So, hey, where can people connect with you if they want to reach out and say hi?
Yeah. So the best place to reach me is on LinkedIn. I'm on there pretty much daily. So my handle is Michelle R. Sanders. So you
Okay.
can find me there.
Gotta get that middle name in case there's any other Michelle's trying to.
I do. Well, someone stole Michelle Sanders. I didn't jump on it fast enough, apparently. So,
Imposter.
yes.
Imposter. There can be only one.
No,
Okay,
I
so
know.
hit you up on LinkedIn, say hi, and don't be a stranger, and don't just send a random invite. Send a note saying, I heard you on the podcast. I'd love to
hmm
chat nutrition or marketing or
Yeah,
Spain.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been a sort of a lone marketer at a company for a long time. So if
Mm,
anyone has any questions about how to handle marketing in a small company, being the only person there, I'm happy to offer advice on
that's
how to
awesome.
make it work. So,
That is awesome. I'm sure there's a bunch of
mhm.
people out there that are like ready to take that advice up because
Yeah,
it's not easy when you're the only one that does what you do and everyone else thinks you're crazy, you
yeah,
know? Crazy.
exactly.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here and just chit chat and hanging out
Mhm.
and making Friday a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, good. Jump into the weekend and hang out at our homes, right?
Right. Hey, weekend, doing exactly what I did yesterday, except no calls. Yeah, right. And for those listening, if you learned something, and I know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, then share this with someone. Share the episode with someone. Be a thought leader to one person, 2 people, 1,000 people. But get this information in their hands, and then definitely hit up Michelle and chat nutrition, chat marketing, chat about being
Yeah,
a solo marketer in a company, team
yeah,
of one.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Michelle, thanks again for coming on here. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Right on. This has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.
All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chat bot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Then you go over to qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see y'all in the next one.